4:30 a.m. on February 29th, 1976, a rare leap year day, and Novell Love is arriving for a shift at the Cuckoo restaurant. The sun hasn't yet burned through the mist that clings to the Dandenong Ranges, those steep, densely forested hills that rise from the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. The air is cold and damp, carrying the scent of eucalyptus and ferns. Novell parks and begins walking toward the kitchen entrance, and that's when she notices something's wrong. A blue Volkswagen Combi sits in the lower car park, not in its usual spot near the rear kitchen doors, but hidden from the main road. The rear sliding door of the Combi's wide open. The keys are still in the ignition. The kitchen doors to the restaurant themselves are ajar, which is highly unusual for a restaurant that won't open for hours, especially one run by a man obsessed with security and routine. Novell calls out. No answer. Just the wind moving through the towering trees, and somewhere in the mist, the distinctive laugh of a kookaburra. Wilhelm Willy Koppen, celebrity chef, television pioneer, owner of one of Melbourne's most successful restaurants, has vanished. His van's here, his keys are here, but Willie himself has disappeared as completely as if the mountain had swallowed him whole. And nearly 50 years later, his body's never been found. No one's been charged. And someone still knows why. Welcome to Struth, a podcast exploring Australia's most perplexing true mysteries. I'm Mark, your storyteller, and over the next 2 episodes, we're venturing into the misty Dandenong Ranges to tell you about a man who changed Australian dining forever and then disappeared without a trace on a foggy morning in 1976. This is indeed a case with more questions than answers, a case where every theory raises new mysteries, a case where the people who know the truth refuse to speak. So settle in. We're heading to the Dandenongs. Wilhelm Koppen was born in Berlin on June 22, 1929, a child of Nazi Germany who survived the war and chose his path in the ruins. He would become a chef. He apprenticed at the legendary Hotel Adlon, where heads of state dined and European high society gathered. In England, he even cooked for Winston Churchill himself. In 1955, lured by the 1956 Melbourne Olympics, the 26-year-old emigrated to Australia and landed a position as executive chef at the Chevron Hotel in St Kilda, Melbourne's first country club hotel. And at 28, he was running the kitchen at one of the city's most prestigious establishments. But Willie had even bigger ambitions. In 1957, Willie became the host of The Chef Presents on Melbourne's Channel 7. Television was barely a year old in Australia. The first broadcast had begun in September 1956 for the Olympics. And here was Willie, appearing every Monday night, demonstrating recipes and introducing Australian housewives to continental cuisine. This was years before Julia Child or Graham Kerr would bring cooking to screens overseas. Willie Koppen was Australia's first televised cooking show host. He also hosted a German language radio show on 3XY, connecting with Melbourne's immigrant community. In April 1957, he married Karin Lunch, a fellow German immigrant he'd met at an Olympics party. 2 ambitious Germans building a new life together. In 1958, Willie purchased the rundown Quamby Cafe in Olinda, high in the Dandenong Ranges. I suppose it was about as close to the Black Forest as you could find in Australia. He transformed it into the Cuckoo restaurant and brought an innovation that would revolutionise Australian dining. The smorgasbord. Smorgasbord, for those who haven't seen or heard of it, is a Swedish buffet-style meal. But in 1958, in Australia, it was revolutionary. You could choose from dozens of dishes, serve yourself, try foods you'd never heard of, eat as much as you wanted. It was an instant sensation. And by the mid-70s, the Cuckoo could seat 400 patrons and welcome busloads of tourists daily. Politicians, celebrities, business leaders, they all made the winding drive up into the mountains. For those who have never had the pleasure, the Dandenong Ranges are steep, thickly forested hills, covered in towering mountain ash trees, some reaching as much as 90 metres high. There's dense ferny undergrowth that carpets the underground, deep gullies cut through the landscape, and in winter, mist settles in the valleys and clings until mid-morning. It's beautiful, but treacherous. The kind of place where something could disappear forever. Willie and Karen had 3 children, and by the early 1970s, Willie had everything. Fame, a thriving business, multiple properties, including a Queensland holiday home. He drove an old Volkswagen Combi despite his wealth, remaining unpretentious. But by 1976, that dream, Willie's dream, had curdled into something darker. By February of that year, Willie and Karen's marriage had completely deteriorated. Though still running the restaurant together, Willie had moved into a small cottage at the rear of the property. Both were conducting affairs, Karen with a Melbourne barrister, Willie with a woman for whom he'd purchased a house. His relationship, however, had ended badly 6 months earlier when he allegedly found her in bed with someone else. Willie's mental state was deteriorating, publicly. The kind, generous man of the 1950s had developed a volatile temper, severe anxiety, and full-blown alcoholism. Those close to him say that he felt trapped by the restaurant that had once been his pride. After giving up television in 1959, he'd lost his creative outlet. Worse still, Karen had surrounded herself with a social circle who openly disliked Willie. But despite these troubles, Willie remained a devoted father, which makes what happened next inexplicable. Why would a man who loved his children abandon them without a word? Which brings us to Saturday evening, February 28th, 1976. It's around 8 p.m. when Willie arrives at the Cuckoo. The dinner service has just begun. The restaurant's busy. It's always busy on Saturday nights. But Willie is in a foul mood. More than that, he's clearly intoxicated. He's been drinking before he even arrived, and throughout the evening, as the dinner service continues, he keeps drinking. His words begin to slur. He becomes verbally abusive to staff members. At some point during the evening, he threatens to sack June Vink, a long-time employee. According to later reports, he also makes inappropriate sexual advances towards her. It's the kind of behaviour that, even in the 1970s, would have consequences, though perhaps not the legal consequences it would carry today. But in a small community like Olinda, word travels, and June Vink has a husband. Willie also has a public, heated confrontation with Karen, accusing her of infidelity right there in the restaurant, in front of staff, in front of the remaining patrons. And then he makes threats. He says he's going to throw himself off the restaurant's roof or balcony. He's going to kill himself. Well, he had made these suicide threats before. This wasn't the first time, but this time it feels different. This time people are genuinely worried for his safety. So Dr. Bernard Butler is called. He's described in some accounts as a family friend, though many who knew them question that characterisation. Butler was part of Karen's camp after all, part of that social circle that openly disliked Willie. But on this night, Butler comes to help. Karen leaves the premises to stay with a friend, removing herself from the situation, and Butler stays with Willie at the now empty restaurant. So picture this, late at night in the mountains, the restaurant's closed, the staff have gone home, the patrons are long gone. It's just Willie and Dr. Butler, drinking together on a small balcony, talking, the hours stretching into the early morning. What did they talk about? What was said in those hours, we'll never know. Butler has never spoken publicly about that conversation. According to Butler, they drink until around 2 a.m, and then he makes a suggestion. Why not continue this drinking session at his house and attach surgery? It's less than a kilometre away, less than a 2-minute drive up the road. Willie agrees and they drive in their respective vehicles, Butler in his car, Willie in that distinctive blue Combi van. But here's the first suspicious detail that would haunt investigators for decades. Earlier in the evening, Butler had stopped at his surgery to collect something. Maloril, a strong antipsychotic drug. He told police later that he brought it along in case it was needed. Why would a GP bring a powerful psychiatric medication to what was supposedly a social drinking session with a distraught friend? What did Butler anticipate needing it for? And if he was going to administer it to help Willie, why would he encourage him to keep drinking? It's now between 2 and 3 a.m. on Sunday, February 29th, that rare leap year day. At Butler's residence, the drinking continues for approximately 45 minutes to an hour, and then something else happens that investigators would seize on as one of the most critical clues. Willie receives a phone call. At 3 a.m, not at his home, not at the restaurant, but at Dr. Butler's home, a location he doesn't regularly visit. Someone knows exactly where to find Willie. Someone has Butler's number and knows that Willie is there right now in the middle of the night. Who knew? How? And why call at 3 a.m? These questions would echo through the investigation for 50 years unanswered. According to Dr. Butler's statement to police, sometime between 3 and 4 a.m, he watched Willie climb unsteadily into his blue Volkswagen Combi and drive away, heading back towards a Cuckoo restaurant, 750 metres down the road. And that was the last confirmed sighting of Wilhelm Köppen alive. Here's where the timeline becomes crucial and deeply suspicious. Remember, at about 4:30 a.m, cleaner Novelle Love arrives at the Cuckoo for a morning shift. She finds Willie's Combi parked in the restaurant's lower car park, not in his usual parking spot near the rear kitchen doors, but in this unusual location, which is hidden from the main road. The rear sliding door is open wide. The keys are still in the ignition. The kitchen doors are ajar. Highly unusual for a security-conscious chef who always locked up carefully. And Willie is nowhere to be seen. But Novelle notices something else. So does Philip Fares, a local police officer who arrives shortly after. They both observe something unusual in the early hours of that morning. A dark-coloured American-style car, possibly a Ford or a Chevrolet, parked outside the restaurant, facing the wrong way. This vehicle has never been identified. Its occupants have never come forward, and it may be the key to solving the entire case. So let's think about that window of time. Dr. Butler claims Willie left his surgery/house between 3 and 4 a.m. The van was discovered at 4:30 a.m, leaving us a window of 30 to 90 minutes. The drive from Butler's surgery to the Cuckoo restaurant takes less than 2 minutes. Even if Willie was driving unsteadily, even if he stopped somewhere, even if he took his time, we're talking about a journey of 750 metres. So in that brief window, 30 to 90 minutes at most, Wilhelm Köppen vanished completely. Willie's wife, Karen, didn't report Willie missing for 3 days. It wasn't until March the 2nd that she filed a report. She claimed that she thought Willie had gone to Queensland, to their property. He'd been talking about it, and none other than Dr. Butler confirmed that Willie had discussed these plans. The police response was equally problematic. Investigators initially wrote off the disappearance as an orchestrated act by Köppen himself, who would surely resurface. This was an odd assumption. Willie never accessed his bank accounts, didn't take his passport or clothes. He left his keys in the ignition, and the van door was open. And most tellingly, he'd abandoned his beloved children without a word. This assumption meant crucial early evidence may have been lost forever. Crime scenes weren't secured. Witnesses weren't questioned urgently. The case was going cold before anyone realised there even was a case. Once it finally got underway, the initial investigation did uncover some intriguing details. Police questioned restaurant staff and recent patrons. They discovered that the Sunday before Willie's disappearance, 1 week earlier, 3 female escorts and their manager had visited the Cuckoo for lunch. According to reports, Willie was supposed to choose one as a travelling companion for his planned Queensland trip. Some sources say that 6 escorts appeared at the restaurant the day after Willie's disappearance, saying that they were there to see him. What does this mean? Was Willie involved with organised crime? Was he in debt? Or was this just the sad spectacle of a lonely, unhappy man seeking company wherever he could find it? The police, convinced Willie had vanished on his own accord, also focused on the Pull Island property in Queensland. Teams were sent to search it, to look for any signs that Willie had been there, but they'd found nothing. No evidence of recent visitation, no indication that Willie had ever arrived at the property he'd been talking about visiting. And there was, of course, a search of the local area, those steep, thickly wooded Dandenong ranges that we described earlier. The terrain is truly treacherous, dense forest, with those huge mountain ash trees, thick ferny undergrowth, where you can barely see 5 metres ahead of you. Deep gullies cutting through the landscape. Limited visibility even in daylight. In the mist that blankets these mountains on some mornings, you could walk straight past something, or someone, and never see it. It's exactly the kind of place where a body could remain hidden indefinitely, where even a thorough search could miss something crucial, where the forest itself could reclaim what's hidden in it. Police conducted extensive searches. They brought in search teams. They covered the area around the restaurant, the slopes below, the ravines, the gullies. They looked for any sign, disturbed earth, torn clothing, anything. But they found nothing. And so, the case went cold. Willie Copen had disappeared, and despite all the suspicious circumstances, despite the mysterious phone call, and the strange vehicle, and the open van door, and the keys left behind, there was no body, no evidence of foul play that could be proven, no suspects who could be charged. The file went into a drawer, the investigation stalled, and years passed. Before we take a closer look at the theories and the suspects, let's examine the physical evidence that we've got in front of us from that morning, because when you really look at it, almost nothing makes sense. First, there's the van itself. Willie's blue Volkswagen Combi is found parked in the restaurant's lower car park, not in Willie's usual spot. He always parked near the rear kitchen doors, always. It was convenient, it was routine. He was a man of habit. But on this morning, the van is in this unusual location, hidden from the main road. Why? If Willie had driven back from Dr. Butler's surgery and parked there himself, why would he choose a different spot? He was intoxicated, yep, but not so intoxicated that he'd forget where he normally parked. And the location doesn't seem random. It seems specifically positioned to be less visible from the road. Was Willie hiding the van, or did someone else move it there? And of course, there's the rear sliding door, wide open. 4:30 a.m. in the morning, cold, misty mountains. If Willie was locking up the restaurant and going home to his cottage, why is the van door open? If he was loading something, what was he loading at 4 a.m? If he was meeting someone, why leave the door open? And the keys still in the ignition. Willie Copen, by all accounts, was security conscious. He was careful about locking doors, securing the restaurant, protecting his business. He didn't leave keys lying around, let alone in the ignition. And finally, the kitchen doors, found ajar by the cleaner at 4:30 a.m. Willie would never leave the kitchen unlocked. This was a man who worried about security, who checked locks, who made sure everything was secure before he left. So what happened? Did Willie unlock the kitchen and start to go inside? And then, what? Was he interrupted? Was he confronted by someone? Did he go voluntarily with someone and forget to lock up? Or did someone else open those kitchen doors after Willie was already gone? This brings us on to that mysterious car. Both the cleaner, Novell Love, and local police officer, Philip Fairs, observed it. A dark-coloured, American-style car, possibly a Ford or a Chevrolet, parked outside the restaurant in the early hours of the morning, facing the wrong way. This detail is crucial. It's a distinctive car, parked the wrong way, at the restaurant at exactly the time Willie disappeared. Who was in it? Why was it there? Why hasn't it been properly identified? Was it even connected to Willie's disappearance? Or was this just an unfortunate coincidence, a car that happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, its occupants unaware they'd been near the scene of a possible murder. But the timing is just extraordinary. The window between when Butler claims Willie left his surgery, between 3 and 4 a.m, and when the van was discovered, 4:30 a.m, is tiny. And right smack bang in the middle of that window, this mysterious car is parked outside the restaurant. It's a hell of a coincidence. Perhaps the most haunting piece of evidence isn't physical at all. It's that phone call Willie received at approximately 3 a.m. Let's really think about this for a minute. 3 o'clock in the morning. Willie isn't at home. He's not at the restaurant. He's at Dr. Bernard Butler's house and surgery, in a location he doesn't regularly visit. And someone calls him. Someone knows he's there. He and Butler, according to Butler, were the last people to leave the Cuckoo. Who even knew that they went to Butler's place together? Butler knew. Obviously he was there, but who else? Did he tell someone? Did someone follow Willie and Butler from the restaurant? Did Willie tell someone he was going there? Karen had left earlier to stay with a friend. Did Butler call her to update her on Willie's condition? Did she then call back, or did she tell someone else? Someone in Karen's camp, where Willie was. What was said during that call? Dr. Butler has never revealed this detail, and neither has Willie, for obvious reasons. So the content of that conversation is lost. But here's what we do know. After that phone call, within the next hour or so, Willie Copen disappeared forever. And then there's the evidence connected to Mr. Butler himself. Because the more you look at his actions that night, the less sense they make. He's at the Cuckoo restaurant on a Saturday night with his girlfriend, Anne Robinson. They're regular patrons. They witness a public fight between Willie and Karen. They see Willie threatening suicide. Butler's called to help calm Willie down, and Karen leaves to stay with a friend. Butler stays with Willie, drinking with him at the restaurant balcony till around 2 a.m. And then Butler suggests to continue drinking at his house and surgery. But before they go, or at some point during that evening, Butler stops at his surgery to collect something. Malaril, that strong antipsychotic drug. He tells police he brought it in case it was needed. Why? Malaril, known generically as thyroidazine, is a serious psychiatric medication. It's not something you just happen to have with you. It's not like carrying aspirin for a headache. This is a drug used to treat severe mental illness, psychosis, schizophrenia, severe anxiety. Why would Butler think he might need antipsychotic medication during a social drinking session with a distraught friend? If he was truly there to help, surely mixing this medication with alcohol wasn't the way to go about it. Did Butler bring that medication for a different reason? Was he planning to sedate Willie, to calm him down chemically, to make him a little bit more compliant? Let's be clear, there's no evidence that Dr. Butler killed Willie Copen. None. He's never been charged with any crime, and he's not officially a suspect. But he is, according to his own statements, the last known person to see Willie alive. He's one of the few people that can account for Willie's movements in those final hours, and he's chosen not to speak about it. Butler and his girlfriend Anne Robinson, both still alive as of 2025, have consistently declined to speak with investigators or media about that night. They haven't given interviews, they haven't clarified details, they haven't helped to fill in gaps in the timeline. Why? So that's the end of part 1 of this 2-part investigation into the disappearance of the Cuckoo. We've put all the evidence on the table. We've seen the abandoned van, the mysterious car, the 3 a.m. phone call, Dr. Butler's strange actions, the complete failure of the initial investigation. Every piece of evidence points to something deeply wrong. Doesn't seem like an accident. Doesn't seem like Willie was voluntarily disappearing. It seems like murder. But who did it and why? In part 2, we closely examine every suspect, every theory, every possible explanation for what happened to Willie Copen on that February morning. Was it a jealous lover? A husband protecting his wife? Someone in Karen's inner circle? A conspiracy involving multiple people? We need to figure out who. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Reach out to us on social media. Just look up Struth Podcast. Send me an email, struthpodcast@gmail.com. What do you think happened to Willie Copen? And make sure you like and subscribe the show on whatever platform that you're using for your podcasts so you don't miss part 2, The Suspects, which will be released this Friday. Until then, stay safe and thanks for listening.